Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to a video. I wanted to get this up a week or two ago, and just, I mean, my life is very busy, and I don't have a lot of time, as you guys can tell from the lack of videos I've been posting, to do tons of videos right now. But Carlos Pacheco is quite ill with ALS, and I want to do a tribute video to him because he really was one of my first favorite, like where I would actually mentally acknowledge that he was one of my favorite comic book pencilers. And so what I thought I would do is I want to show you a couple of books that got me excited about his art, and then a couple of the books that really were impressive that he did early in his career. So obviously our thoughts go out to Carlos at this time. I'm not going to monetize this video. It's not. I just don't want the perception of why I'm doing this to be confused. I don't use the word fan lightly. I mean, I do now more only because you, as a professional, you will get grilled about who your influences are and all this stuff. But honestly, like when I got to Wildstorm and I met Alex Garner for the first time, and I was going in for a job interview to get hired there, he put it to me and he said, "Well, who are your influences?" And I had never been asked that in terms of comics, and I just liked comics and I liked art, and I immediately just went through my mind and went like, well, who are my favorite artists? Because I never even considered it, to be honest. And I was like, well, Carlos Pacheco and Cam Smith, you know. And then I told Alex that he and J. Scott Campbell were also two of my favorites, which was true. And yeah, so I mean, it really goes back to the beginning for me. I'd never really seen anyone in comics that could draw to the level of Carlos. But you know, had just started collecting, but there was so much energy and so much kind of like skill that he had, and I really found it incredible. And another kind of fun thing about some of this art is a few of these pieces are some of the first original art that I ever bought. So I don't even really collect original art. I was such a big fan of Carlos Pacheco that I bought pages from Scott Doombeer when he came to Wildstorm of Pacheco's work. I mean, that's how much I actually, revered the art. So I'm a real fan. So this is Bishop. This was a mini series that he did in the early '90s, and we've got Carlos Pacheco on pencils, John Ostrander is writing it, Cam Smith, Joe Rosas, Jim Lee's colorist on the colors, and Bob Harris and Tom DeFalco. So quite the stacked lineup of people associated with this book. I will just go out of order. It doesn't really matter. We're not looking at the storytelling right now anymore. We're just enjoying the art. So what was interesting about Carlos's stuff to me, it was I was starting to realize that like when you draw comics, it's a style. Like it's not, you can't like grab the Bern Hogarth like anatomy book and see stuff that looks like this. Bern Hogarth was sort of like, he's like the gateway like anatomy book back in the 90s, because you didn't have tons of options for that type of stuff. And yeah, you'd get that, and then you'd see someone like Pacheco drawing, you'd go like, this is different. There's like way more going on, and there's suggestions of muscles, and the dynamics of it was so wild. And I really like the way that he drew hands. I know Kelsey and I have talked about Pacheco before, because I think just, he stood out for sure. And I mean, like stuff like this upside down head, this tricky shit to draw. Kind of almost has a little bit of a John Romita Jr. sort of vibe. But yeah, and so the only real bit of information that I had about Carlos at the time, because I was very curious of how he had learned to get so good at drawing comics, and I was under the impression, and this might be inaccurate information, but somewhere I got the impression that he might have been an art teacher before he broke into comics. And I don't know what that means exactly, like if he was teaching at a school, or if like what the circumstances. And it may even be inaccurate information, but I mean, he drew cool boots, and everything had this like 3D quality, and I was just really impressed. And Cam Smith's inks were so good. So I've always kind of been a fan of clean art. I do love gritty wild art too, but yeah, I was thought that this was nice. These fonts are a little weird. They're like it's like it's something slipped. Some of it's like out of like, they're like moved, like the line art moved from the color or something. But I have X Universe. I have this Bishop book, and then I have 2 issues of X-Men. So we'll look at quite a bit. This video will go for a little while. So settle in, and let's enjoy some art. Man, this is great. Yeah, it's funny coming back and looking at this now. It's like I do see a similarity between John Romita Jr. and Pacheco, and I don't know which way it's going. If John Romita Jr. was maybe a little inspired. Look at this. This is so good. Man, I love that. Hey, they did the best hair in these hands. These really, really cool hands. I thought it was so badass. Now, I didn't, to be clear, the pages that I bought, I didn't have pick of like the whole book. It was like what was available. So when I show you the pages, if you see other pages and you go, well, why wouldn't you pick this page over that page? You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. No, I had some pretty decent pages. That maybe they're not even from this issue though. It could be from a later issue. Oh no, this was one of them. I'm pretty sure this was one of them. Oh man, look at that hand. I love that shit. I'm not convinced that this is one of them. It's definitely got a big shot of this guy with like stuff coming out of his head though. I owned, I think, 3 Bishop pages and then a double page spread from... Oh, you know, this is really weird. Now I'm like, I think one of my pages had this kind of thing going on it too, but I don't think this wasn't it for sure. It was a different page, definitely. Apparently, this guy was doing this all over the book. Yeah, it's really interesting when you get into comic books, and like I didn't have a peer group with it, as I always say, is like it was kind of like, I mean, I did know 2 people that were collecting comics, but I didn't really have anyone to uh, talk to about the hobby. So all my friends, we were all musicians, and that was kind of like all I did. So getting into comics, I didn't, it wasn't like I could hang out with my pals and like chit chat about this stuff. It was me by myself just getting into it. The X-Men issues that I grabbed are so good. Oh my god. I remember just being like blown away by them. This was around the time though that I was getting into Dale Keown and also Gary Frank. So I definitely liked the clean but detailed sort of art. Still do. And Pacheco ended up working for Wildstorm for quite a while. He did a couple of pretty long runs. Aerosmith was one that I can think of immediately, but I feel like he did something else too. Ah man, this is so good. It's really interesting coming back and looking at this because this is like, man, like ground zero for me being into comics. I don't remember if I bought these as back issues though. I can't say for 100% sure that I bought them when they came out, but I definitely had them within the first year of collecting. Oh, it's cool. I'm pretty sure that Pacheco did some, was it Flash or Impulse? There's definitely a comic that he did before this. There may be many, but one that I was aware of, I think it was either Impulse or I think it was Impulse. He did an Impulse story that was quite good. But you could definitely tell that he was getting used to drawing comics. I mean, that's not an uncommon thing where you get an artist who's really talented but hasn't done comic books yet. Frank Cho comes to mind a little bit for me. Is he had been doing all the Liberty Meadows stuff, but there was this like acclimation period to drawing like full on superhero comics, because it'll kick your ass for a couple of years. There's no two ways about it. No matter how talented you are as an artist, comics will humble you real quick for about 2 or 3 years, and if you can weather that initial sort of meteor storm of I have to draw all this shit, you kind of level out, and then you can sort of flourish. But yeah, the first couple of years it's hard. And that is kind of one of the reasons that looking at people's early work is interesting, because you kind of see what they're naturally good at and what they and as the puzzle pieces start to kind of fall into place. He does a great bishop, man. So we should be almost finished with this book, and then we're going to look at X Universe really fast, and then we'll get into the X-Men issues as sort of like the grand finale. Yeah, I think my pages must have been from a different issue. I don't think that these are. This is really good. So yeah, this is reminding me a lot of John Romita Jr. at times. I didn't put it together back in the day, but yeah, it's really interesting. Even this kind of has a little bit of a John Romita Jr. feel. Was exciting. I got to ink John Romita Jr. for a brief amount of time, but kind of like if you watched the video yesterday, how I was saying that as I was trying to move up the ladder through the sort of the pecking order of inkers that would be selected to do something at Wildstorm. I mean, you had Scott Williams, Alex Garner, Trevor Scott. I kind of had mentioned that. John Romita Jr. is the same way. When you ink John Romita Jr., there's like 10 people that he's worked with way longer than you and done a way bigger body of work. And no matter how much they like your work, generally speaking, it's like you kind of have to work your way through that chain of Al Williamson and Danny Mickey and just so like all the different people that he's worked with, Scott Hanna, and you're just not going to be the first pick. But Pacheco worked for at least a year or two with Cam Smith, and boy, I just love the work that they did. Okay, so now we're going to open X Universe. And this is also Cam Smith on this. I owned the double page spread in this book. It'll come up as 2 pages. I saw the files how they were scanned, but it's a Gray Hulk double page spread. So very cool cover. Again, the hands are always like he always has them in like dynamic positions. They're always very like ready for action. So we've got Terry Kavanaugh's script, Scott Lobdell's story. Okay, I didn't even realize that. Kevin Summers, colorist, Electric Crayon. I've heard of them. There was a point in the 90s where they started having coloring studios more, where you'd have kind of one keynote colorist would start a studio so that they could do more work. Oh, man, that's cool. X Universe was apparently 2 issues. I kind of thought it was 4, but it looked like it was 2 issues of material, and it was cool. He did Avengers Forever was another like longer run. I love this. This is like I thought this was such a cool shot, like because you could see the bottom of this guy's feet, and he was kind of at an upshot, and I was like, oh man, I'd love to be able to draw shit like that. This is really cool too. Anytime people can do stuff that looks 3D, I'm always like so impressed. Yeah, so when I was hired at Wildstorm, and I had mentioned this in the yesterday's video about meeting Scott Doombeer and him having Wildstorm Fine Arts, the stuff that I was talking about that I was so shocked because I had gone into Scott's office when he was kind of moving in, and it's like, what is all this stuff that you have? And it was all original art that he was an art dealer, and I was like, you have all this art? And he's like, yeah. And I go, I mean, do you mind if I look through it? And the stuff that he had was the Carlos Pacheco stuff. That was the stuff that flipped me out because it had literally just come out maybe a few months before, and I was like, you have these pages? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and they're for sale? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, like, can I pay some off? Like, I don't have the money to buy them like outright, but can I make payments? And so yeah, it was just crazy. But that was the stuff that I bought. Was I bought Carlos Pacheco and some Travis art. I was no dummy. You'll love this double page spread that I got in here. That's so good. I love the big shadows that he puts on this stuff. It's really interesting because I tend to put too much detail. Like, I'll try to show more of this, but I do like the big shadows on stuff that he uses, like this, you know. It's like when to stop, you know, when is the shadow enough, and when can you, like, eliminate the detail. Really, really cool. I love this, how they would do the negative and the like the white and to black. I'm not sure how it'll show up on this. I'll try to make it. But yeah, the positive and negative that Pacheco and Cam Smith would use was really, really cool. And you get these like very cool kind of graphic reads. Let me try to pull out just a little more gray. Kind of get an idea what the page would look like in black and white. But yeah, they really, actually, it was quite high contrast art with a very graphic read. Could pretty much turn this into a grayscale file. I'd lose a little bit of the line work, but it's damn close. I could fuck around with the levels more and make it more, but it's gonna be weird seeing this spread. I haven't seen it in forever, and in particular in color. Oh man, that's cool. It's a big clock that got knocked over. Is it Big Ben? What is this? Oh man, that's cool. Oh, was that might have been a spread. Oh, I think that was a double page spread too. Shoot. Man, this is awesome. I always loved like when comic book artists could get such a big sense of scale where you like have these gigantic ships or buildings in perspective and all this kind of like just the little people. It looks so good. It's man. So a guitarist that I love, Jason Becker, has ALS, and Jason was diagnosed with it when he was about to go on tour with David Lee Roth back in like the 90s, and he's lived 30 years with it. And then a YouTuber that I follow, CGS Guitars, recently was diagnosed with ALS, and it's it's such a horrible disease, and it just slowly just gnaws away at you. And so I was shocked when this morning there was a bunch of reports coming out, and they were news sources from Spain. I don't even know where. I mean, all saying that Carlos had passed away. So I really don't know. But it looked very legit. It wasn't like I didn't just see it on Instagram and like copy and paste stuff. I mean, I went to Google and looked at multiple sources, and they had all said that he had passed away. So I took that as legit news. Again, not from a fan, not from another pro. That was where I heard that it had happened, but I did do my research. But clearly these news sources were jumping the gun. But I again, I don't know. But it is a horrible disease. I really didn't think that Carlos. I felt like he had years though. You know, Jason Becker, although he's immobile, has lived with it for 30 years. He's definitely an anomaly though. But yeah, it's really really awful. I keep thinking that each next page is going to be the Hulk spread, and then it's not. Like, where are you, Hulk? I know he's coming up. I always was so impressed by this too. Speed lines, like, man, that was such a rite of passage to be able to do them, because I don't know for a fact that Cam Smith did them with a brush, but there's this technique where you hold like a straight edge and you actually use a brush and do your speed lines. And I've always said that I personally feel that that's probably one of the hardest inking techniques that there is you balance the triangle by placing it just a little bit down on the page, but you're kind of mostly balancing with your hand, and then you do the brush strokes next to it, like holding it. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. Much easier to do with a Hunt 102 and a straight edge, but the only thing is you don't get the same line. With a brush you can get much thicker, and really really good artists. There was an inker named Jason Rodriguez that could do it, and oh my god, between him and Mike Christian, they were so good at brush inking and doing those techniques. It was crazy. You can get much thicker with a brush on the tapered end. Okay, here's my Hulk spread, so let me do this. I'm going to image canvas size. Colors do not do it justice, I'll tell you that right now. Alright, let me do this. Oh, wait. Okay. Okay, now let me flatten this. Grayscale. I want you to have the experience of my art, the art. Pull that out. Yeah, that looks a little bit more like it. Dude, this spread is so badass. I sold it maybe 10 years ago to a friend of mine named Joe Lee, who's like, they call him the Vacuum, but he's the guy that has like a pretty insane art collection. But we're good friends beyond. I was friends with him before when he was just starting to collect original art. I've known him for probably 20 years now, something like that. Yeah, it was like I there's just a certain point where I've had a piece of art for so long that I feel like it's time to let it go and, you know, kind of move to the next home. But boy, it gave me joy. I actually had it in a frame and hanging up in my office for probably 10 years. So cool. This was great. But yeah, I wanted a really good representation of Cam Smith's inks and Pacheco's amazing pencils. So that was one of the pieces that I owned. All right. All right, so let's move into the X-Men. I mean, we can finish this, I guess. That's fine. I'll go out of order, so I don't have to keep going back and forth. Yeah, the colors really kind of make it feel more simple, and the art actually is a little more dynamic than these colors would let you believe. It's interesting how color can really affect the dynamics of art. You know, we realize that, but it's like it can make things look wonky. It can make things look more simple. It can make things look confusing. It can also embellish the art and make it look better, of course. But yeah, this work, I think, and the colors are nice. I actually like the color choices and all that going on with them. To be honest, I think it's for a colorful book, it looks good. They're not using colors that I don't like. All this stuff. God, I remember like this was really hard to learn too. I didn't learn it from this stuff, but working at Wildstorm, you probably because people were influenced by Wilson. Scott Williams would do this stuff on like Wetworks. I know Wetworks armor was different, but the computer lady had this stuff on her, and boy, I'll tell you what, you know, it's its own little challenge to learn. It's funny because you forget about those challenges. You know, like I wouldn't have ever even have thought of that technique as being like something that I had to learn, but there was a point where I didn't know it and did have to learn it. Okay, so we should be getting into the X-Men now. Let's do it. This is gonna be awesome. Still got I just have a soft spot for the Hulk. I don't know what it is. I like the Hulk. All right, so let's do X-Men 62. These are so good. These scans are a little dark, so I may lighten some of them, but oh my god, these issues are so good. All right, let's go. Here we go. So this is the cover. Let me go like this. There we go. All right. So we've got Shang-Chi and Wolverine, and Crazy Wolverine at that. This was an interesting point. So Carlos had an interesting evolution between what we just looked at and this, which actually makes it a really good transition. So in the mid 90s up till around 1998, there was a very, very big surge of Humberto Ramos, Roger Cruz, Joe Madureira, and things started to get more like this kind of angular, cartoony thing. And Pacheco acclimated to it so well and did such a great job with this kind of new hot look that was going on. But he kept his Pacheco-ness intact too. But he had a really nice blend of the two, I think. But I mean, you really can see like the Madureira. And at the time I wouldn't have pegged it as oh, and look, it's Art T. Bear's inks, dude. Art's the man. He's so good. Some of my favorite stuff that Chris Bachlo did around this time is inked by Art. Was some X-Men issues that they did, and then they did a Witching Hour book or Death, something like that. That was really good too. But yeah, like man, I love this stuff. How cool is that? Wonder if Art still has any of these pages. Okay, we'll just go out of order. It'll be a little easier for me to get through them without having to do the back and forth hoochie coo. Look at this. Again, perspective. Always impressive to me. We're below these characters looking up. It's so cool. Look at Wolverine's head. It's crazy. These guys look bad to the bone. Brr, 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 brr. Yeah, this stuff is so wild. But yeah, you can really kind of see that the evolution of his work and how it got more stylized. Very, very fun to see. Look at like Wolverine's feet. Man, that's so crazy. Like I could totally draw shit like this now, and I just back then this was so beyond me. It seemed so complicated. Now I look at it and I go, this stuff is actually simpler than other things, you know. It's really, really great drawings, though. Don't get me wrong. Simple in that how would I explain it? Not easy, but it's more. There's less stuff going on than you would imagine. Less anatomy, less. You know, he really keeps it fluid though. Like this is all very nice. Yeah, simple doesn't mean easy, to be clear. This stuff is really well drawn. I remember this page. Pretty nice colors. I actually like this. Man, that is so cool. What a great page. That's really nice. Man, great storytelling. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this stuff, it looks so crazy. Like, I didn't really become aware of Joe Madureira's work until he was working on Battle Chasers at Wildstorm, to be honest. I mean, I had the Deadpool miniseries that he did. I collected those, but it didn't really stand out to me as anything, beyond just that it was like another comic book that I had bought that was pretty cool. I like the character. But yeah, when I started seeing his work on Battle Chasers, I was like, damn, this shit is good. Who is this guy? He's a great Cyclops. Really nice shots of the plane. He really makes it like they're very peaceful. Man, it's cool. Camera angle shot. Oh yeah, I remember this page. I still have all these books. It's funny because my comic book collection is like in gridlock. I can't get to it easily, and I want to start slowly going through my collection and kind of paring it down, but also just being able to access the stuff that I want to get to. It's frustrating, so I'll let people know when I start to sell it. I'm gonna go through what's in my office right now and see what I have to keep and then what I could get rid of for now. I'll let people know if you wanna grab some stuff. I need to get rid of like half of my collection, and then I can start over. It's a lot of work going through a collection, but I don't want to just dump it. I mean, I'm not looking for crazy prices, to be clear, but just it's like, you know what I mean. You have to take your time and kind of go through things. Also, don't want to I want to make sure that it's graded properly, so people are getting what they expect. This is really cool. Again, he was another one of those artists that for me just like because like the term storytelling can be very very confusing to people that are learning to draw because it means multiple things to I think professional artists. Storytelling can be like how you move the eye through the page. It can be literally like the storytelling, like what the story is and what's being shown, how clear is that. And then storytelling can just be the shots, like this is cool storytelling because it's like creates a mood and an atmosphere on its own as a single piece. But the storytelling on this page is quite nice too. Oh yeah, this page. I love this. Yeah, so he really moves the camera around great. We've got this really like worm's eye view right here. A little bit of action going on here with the whoosh, and then we get this really nice like kind of like we're above them looking kind of down on them shot. The camera is just kind of above them. I can literally picture the grid in my mind. See, I can see it. He really keeps it on point, and it looks great. But man, these figures are awesome. Look at like Wolvie's hand right here, and that's really good. Okay. Oh yeah, look at this. He was my cloth guy too for folds. It was funny. I was talking to Kelsey about this on Sunday, and I was pointing out that Kelsey keeps his folds fairly simple. Like he has a main fold, and then he'll have a couple of like sort of reactionary folds to the thing. But I remember when I was trying to learn to draw clothes, I would always pull out Pacheco stuff. Always pull out Pacheco stuff because I felt like he had a very good handle on making stuff 3D, but it wasn't so confusing like a Mark Silvestri where you could get overwhelmed by all the detail. So I felt like, I could look at this and maybe be able to dissect this and start to understand how stuff wraps around or whatever. So again, the impact of Carlos on my own work is probably far greater reaching than anyone would know. This is cool. This bottom pose. That foot is great. That's so nice. Pichu. Man, scissor kick. I think. I don't know. Nice shot, punk. Look at that. That's some crazy, crazy shit right there. But that was the look of the day, man. 1996, the stuff started to pop off big time. It was going on a little bit before then, but it was interesting is when I got to Wildstorm, Tom Ranney had some Carlos Meglia photocopies in his bookshelf. And I remember seeing Meglia's stuff and being like, what is this magic stuff? Never seen art like this. Was for Cyber 6. But yeah, that style got really hot for about 5 years. A little bit longer, but I'd say by like 2005, it had kind of run its course a little bit. Because even Pacheco moved away from it and kind of went back to like, you know, a different style than the like supercard. Look at this right here. Isn't that amazing? Oh yeah, look at that. Man, this is such a kick-ass piece. I always loved when comic artists would do this. Mark Silvestri had a few shots like this where you'd have just the tumbling tower of like characters coming in on someone. Oh man, that's so cool. He's like showing up. Look at this. Damn. Oh yeah, this is so good. This was one of my favorite pages from the book. Look at that. The house on the hill, really cool establishing shot. And I have mentioned this before in other videos that people ask me like, how do you like lay out a page? A lot of times an establishing shot will be a little bit of like a widescreen view like this. It doesn't have to be, but it can be, and it's like it might be one idea that you have. But then man, he brings the camera like right up above the dock and shows him like, you know, docking it. Nice shot of him getting off the boat, and then to show the like sort of the intimidation of the house and the threat, moves the camera way low so that the house is like towering over him. I mean, it's really, really nice. And then this sequence of him going up the stairs, it's a brilliant page. It really is. This is really great storytelling. He's no joke, friends. Anybody that's watching the video this far is a fan. All right, so let's go to the next one. It's a good one too. All right. Dun 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 dun. All right. So we have April 1997. X-Men: The Return of one of Marvel's deadliest villains to face the Black King. This is Art T. Barrett and Liquid. How funny is that it's Liquid colors? Kind of crazy, right? They may have colored the other issue and I didn't even realize it. I didn't notice. Makes sense, though. Like I said, there's the Joe Madureira connection for sure. Faux show. All right. This was really cool. Oh, Ben Rabb wrote this? Wow, what a trip. The very first short story that I ever drew for comics was written by Ben Rabb. I did a Gen Active Bliss, I think was her name, short story that he wrote. And I penciled and inked it. But we got R.T. Barrow on the inks, Carlos Pacheco pencils, Scott Lobdell plot. All right. Let's see what we got here. Oh, look at this. Man, that's so cool. Damn. Oh, I would buy this original. Man, that's so good. Wow. I love this. This thing, like, you turn Wolverine's head facing back towards us. You got yourself very, very cool thing. It's cool with his head away, but the art collector in me knows that people would prefer his face to be forward. I'll buy a page even if it has a cool building on it, honestly, like when I was collecting. Man, this is awesome. It's really fun seeing this. been a minute. Let's just go out of order. I don't want to have to keep going back and forth. Man, that's so badass. God. It's really interesting because this still to me has a little bit of like a John Romita Jr. vibe. It I need to do a John Romita Jr. video. You guys let me know what book you would like to see or books what should we pursue for John Romita Jr. What are some of your favorites? Because that would be pretty fun. Oh, this top panel is great. The colors are so good, man. I really do love Liquid's colors. I thought, man, some of the stuff that they did on Madureira in particular was really, really good. That's awesome. Damn. This is cool. This is definitely giving me some nostalgia, even though I was working professionally at the point when this came out. Seeing this art just reminds me of the enormity of the challenge of going from fan to pro, and seeing stuff like this, and just like, like you go like, how did they do the heads like this? You know what I mean? Like now, I mean, with computers and everything, you would be able to suspect it could be on another layer. It's an inverse of the line art. But, in the mid 90s, I'd look at stuff like this and just be like, what is this black magic? How are they doing this? Not once I was a pro, but oh man, this is cool. Really great colors. Damn, this stuff is nice. Oh, I love this. Look at that. That's so cool. That's great too. Ah, that's so good. Wonder if they collected this in a higher res version, like if Marvel has this online as a digital purchase. I would definitely love to see like some killer scans of it. I just grabbed these fast from a site online because I there would be no way I would be able to find my comics today, and for a video. It's like I have no idea where these are right now. Actually, I have a hunch of what shelf they're on, believe it or not, because I have one shelf, some of my comics are on bookshelves and sleeve, or backing boards and bags, and I do have a cartoony shelf, and I'm nearly sure that I have him on my quote unquote cartoony shelf, which has has Damian Scott, Jason Pearson, Madureira, who else? I'm trying to think. Pacheco is definitely on it. Who else? It's been a while since I've looked at that exact shelf. It's a certain era of cartoony art, to be clear. It's not all cartoony art, but it's like the 90s, 90s stuff. It's funny now. I'm like, oh, I want to check just to see if I'm right that they'll be there. I'm nearly sure that they are, actually. It's funny because I could tell you the order of shelves like around it too. I have one that's it starts with Arthur Adams, it goes to Simon Bisley, it goes to Frank Quietly, Brian Hitch, and then on the end is just random, a little bit of random stuff. My Art Adams collection is too big though. Like what some of them are part like doubles of my collection, meaning that I have like a box that probably has my Art Adams in it, but the bookshelf would have all my doubles or stuff that I wouldn't look at as frequently. Gumby. Gumby's cool though. Oh, this is awesome. Well, obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Carlos Pacheco, his family and friends. I mean, I don't really know what to say, and I don't know the circumstances of what's going on. So, I mean, I intended to do this video regardless, just because, like I said, he's definitely been a part of my comics journey the whole time, and you know, again, I mean, I'm not even kidding when I say that, like, not this most recent, like, couple of years, but the, like, say the time before, if I was trying to work on my pencils, I would always grab out Pacheco work, because again, for clothes, for hands, for some of the storytelling, I felt like it was clear. You know, there was a lot of advantages to trying to learn something. It wasn't so much about, like, I didn't have any intention of trying to learn to draw like him, but I felt like I could learn from him easier than some artists. Ooh, that's cool. Really nice angle right there. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Avengers Forever, it's pretty cool. If people want to recommend other books that they like of Carlos Pacheco, I mean, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing too, because I'll check them out. Also, if it's something that I don't own. This is a really nice panel right here. Damn. There's always something you can add to your toolbox, you know. This is great too. Jeez. It's nice sound effect. I like it. Zark. Okay, that's it. All right. You guys take it easy. Again, thoughts and prayers go out to Carlos, his family, and friends, and just, you know, look, the comics community really does respect and admire these artists, and it's difficult to see what's going on lately with a lot of our favorite artists, and you know, I don't know what else to do, but I can do a video and we can enjoy their work, which from my point of view as an artist, it's really what we basically sacrifice so much for. You know, at the end of the day, you really put a lot of yourself into the work that you do, and you do make a lot of sacrifices, both like with your family time, friends, all kinds of things, your health, to produce art for people, you know. And sometimes I think that they don't really appreciate how much of a sacrifice it is. It's not necessarily self-serving, but it's like, you know, as an artist, you want to deliver stuff that people will enjoy. You know, that's your value to some extent. Now, you have other values to people in your life, but anyway. But all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy, and I won't be doing another video for a few days. I'm gonna take a break. So all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.